Hey everyone, Vonlin here with my first ever YouTube video. I'm creating a new YouTube channel for mainly going to focus on the Total War game series with commentaries from myself. I'm going to splash in some other PC online games like perhaps StarCraft and League of Legends, strategy type based games, but mainly focus on the Total War series. And I'm doing this in excitement and expectation for Rome Total War 2 that's releasing in October of 2013. And that's what I'm going to dedicate this channel to. So please subscribe if you want more videos about Rome Total War 2 and the other Total War game series in general. And like I said, I'll occasionally include some other stuff as well. So for this first video, I'm going to be showing one of my own 1v1s. As me playing as Germania here on this side of the bridge. On the other side, my opponent is playing as Pontus. Baron85 is my opponent's name. Before we get into the battle, though, I do want to be honest with you guys. I told you this was my first video. It's actually a re-recording of my first video. So sorry to start out our relationship dishonest. I know we just met. But the first version I created of this video, I had my Steam CD code displaying in the bottom right corner the entire time. And I even uploaded it onto YouTube and had it up there for about a day before I realized maybe I don't want the whole world to have my CD key to Steam. So I had to take down the video, delete it, and I'm going to put this one up in its place. And I actually have two other videos that were supposed to be after this on my channel already. But regardless, we're not going to let that hold us back from having a good time here in this first video, quote unquote. You couldn't see it, but I did air quotes, so just imagine that at home. But without further ado, let's go over my army here. I have 4 spear warbands on the outside, right here. 6 berserkers making up my core. I have 1 unit of screeching women in the middle. I don't go anywhere without my screeching women. You'll learn that soon about me. One of my favorite units in Rome Total War, just for sheer comical value, but we'll get back to that later. I have 4 chosen archers up here in the front, and 4 Gothic cavalry in the back for my heavy cavalry, and 1 barbarian chosen warlord for my general. My enemy is playing as Pontus, and he has 10 bronze shields. You'll see 5 of them right here. He has another 4 down this way. He has 3 basic archer units, 4 Cappadocian cavalry, I believe, with his general being in this unit, and then 2 Pontic heavy cavalry, which is actually a javelin throwing unit. Excuse me, it looks like, yeah, no, his general is in the Cappadocian cavalry here. So again, he's got his army split up into 2 different locations. You can't see all of his cavalry hiding in the woods right there. But without further ado, I'm going to hit pause and let this replay begin so we can actually get to the fun part of this now. For those of you that aren't super familiar with Rome Total War, maybe online play or Total War games in general, I'll point out a few obvious things and kind of explain some of the units. As I mentioned, I have 4 chosen archer warbands here in the front, and they are one of the better archer units in the game. There are several elite archers that are superior to them, but these are a pretty good archer. They're going to be better than the archers he's deploying, which is going to have a determining factor on this battle. We'll get to that as the battle unfolds, though. So as I mentioned, I have 6 berserkers, and for anyone that knows anything about competitive Rome Total War, you know that berserkers are usually considered pretty overpowered, and in most battles, players are limited to using only 2 under CWB rules, which is the standard set of rules that people like to play in most of their battles online, but not always. For instance, in this battle, my opponent chose the map and the rules, and he wanted no rules. So I could use more than 2 berserkers, is what I'm trying to say here. And that's kind of why I chose this to be my first video actually on YouTube, is because I wanted to showcase the power of berserkers and kind of demonstrate what they're capable of, because they're actually my favorite unit in Rome Total War, just because they're these big, giant German brutes that do a ton of damage and are really hard to kill, and I just thought it'd be fun to make my first video based off them. So as I've been talking here, you've seen my opponent's revealed some of his cavalry, and he started to cross the river here in this shallow point. I forgot to mention it, but on this area of the map and on this other area of the bridge, you can cross, or on the bridge itself. So he's going to try to flank me with his infantry here, and assuming the rest of this cavalry that he has waiting in the reserve. But while he does that, he's marching the main part of his army closer to the bridge, and he's beginning an archer volley with me. Now, I pointed out how I have 4 units of archers, and I have superior archers to him. And you're really going to see that my ranged unit superiority take its effect here. For anyone that's starting out on doing Total War battles and looking to get more competitive or improve their play, you always kind of want to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of your army. And right now, I definitely have this ranged army strength, so it's not in his best interest for us to have a prolonged exchange of arrows back and forth. And personally, if I was him, I probably wouldn't have left these units within firing range as I move my other units around to flank. But he chooses to do that, and I'm going to take full advantage of that and try to get as many kills as I can with my chosen archer warband. I'm going to try to soften up these bronze shields as much as I can. Meanwhile, he's firing at my spear bands, not really doing a whole lot of damage because, again, he's using cheap archers in low numbers. You see the bodies piling up from all these casualties he's taken. Again, not the best idea. I think he finally realizes it and he pulls them back here. But I'm happy to let him, you know, kill a few units here as I keep racking up the kills. The longer that fight goes on up front there, the better it is for me. While that's been going on, I have rearranged my spear warband over here. I saw him flanking me. I figured exactly what he's going to try to do. I've reorganized my army the best I can to protect my right wing and my flanks. And I'm just kind of waiting for him to come in. And here he comes with his Pontic heavy cavalry. Again, these are javelin throwing cavalry. They throw javelins. They do pretty good damage, but they have limited ammo. So he's going to run in and try to do a little bit of a skirmish here and soften up my lines before he charges me with the rest of his units. To be honest, he doesn't really get a lot of kills here. I shoot him with my archers a little bit, and I take out about a third of the cavalry. So I'm just pretty ineffective attack on his part. I think I move my Gothic cavalry a little bit here just to make him pull back, but it doesn't take much to scare him off. So the Screeching Women, as you can probably hopefully hear in the video, they've begun their screeching, and I mentioned it's one of my favorite units. That's because they're just quite comical. They're basically giant German women cheerleaders with cleavers. They lift the spirits and morale of units around them, and they demoralize enemy units. So you kind of see how I'm in the core of my army just screeching away here. Basically, German units, they don't want to run when their own wives are sitting there in the battlefield. They don't want to embarrass themselves. So their presence on the field will make my units less likely to rout, and they'll intimidate the enemy units. So I think that's a pretty funny unit. There's not really anything else in the game like it. So I get a good kick out of the German faction. You know, you don't see a lot of people play Germania much, but between Berserkers and Screeching Women, I find them to be quite interesting. You see his Pontic heavy cavalry still trying to get some javelin throws off. Not a whole lot has happened in this battle yet. Again, we're just throwing the arrows back and forth, which is really in my favor, as you can see by all the dead bodies that have piled up on his side of the field. There's really nothing left that I've been shooting at. So finally he realizes this is a good idea to not keep doing this, and he brings in his cavalry. Now, charging right away with his general into my spears probably isn't the best idea he ever had, but he is going to do it. Right away you see one of his cavalry go down. Again, pro tip number 2 for everyone out there, don't charge cavalry, especially at least cavalry with your general, straight into phalanxes. He's actually going to get through this without being punished probably as much as he should have been. But in response, I'm just going to send some Berserkers in. His cavalry in the rear at the same time. He charged me in the back, but they got caught up in my own Barbarian heavy cavalry and my spear warband. We're pretty evenly matched. I'm not too worried about it. I even have some more cavalry in my reserves. The important thing to me is to keep his units off of my infantry line, which is exactly what I'm able to do. You see the Berserkers are entering the melee here. They're going to start swinging their axes and just knocking over horses in one swing. Really, their attack damage is impressive. This red flashing flag here, for those of you that don't means these Berserkers have gone berserk. And as it says, they're in bloodlust and oblivious to the world. So the one balance to Berserkers being so strong is that once they enter combat, they go into a frenzy where they will not respond to your orders, and you can no longer control them. So your army loses all of its organization. That's really the only thing that makes them somewhat fair to use and play. Even then, some consider them overpowered. There you see one of the Berserkers taking out the enemy general, and look at just 2 Berserkers here just wailing on this phalanx, and they don't care. So my Berserkers are attacking his bronze shields that he has over here. I've routed some of his Cappadocian cavalry. I've sent in the majority of my Berserkers on these frontline cavalry that he had, and I've been able to turn them all away. He's marching in his bronze shields that he has in reserve now that his cavalry charge is done. To be honest, I probably would have sent him these bronze shields first and then sent the cavalry across the bridge. But his choice was his choice. The Berserkers, meanwhile, they've balled up in a big ball, like I said. I'm no longer controlling them, so they're just running around the field. But you can see how instantly they're causing this unit to rout right away. And that's a combination of just the might of Berserkers and with Screeching Women, kind of really the effectiveness of them all. But while he does that, I'm a little concerned about this bridge because I only have one unit of Spearband that I left here for his 5 units of bronze shields. So this is kind of my sacrificial human wall that I've put up as I try to regroup my army, and I hope that these Berserkers will come back, you know, to protect the rest of my army. Basically, I have to hold all these units back before they can run amok in my lines. So I've sacrificed this one unit to hold them as much as possible. Fortunately for me, this is a bridge battle, so I'm able to bottleneck him up, and it works pretty well, as you can see here. You know, I'm really just tying them up. I'm not getting a ton of kills, but I'm keeping the majority of his army indisposed while I just clean up and wreak havoc on the rest of this. You see the Berserkers are also, they're moving around randomly without any control, going after each unit of his one after the other after their rout. I've regrouped my archers away from the bridge a little bit with my other spear warband to protect them. I'm pulling all my Gothic cavalry back into the area after chasing away some of his units. And I'm basically just trying to buy myself time here on this bridge before he gets across, and hopefully my Berserkers will come back and take care of this. You see he brought some Kadoshan cavalry in that I missed it on the replay, but he charged in behind my spearband and broke them. So he's opened the way for his units to come through here with this Kadoshan cavalry, but my Berserkers are on the scent. They're chasing him down, and they're going to see what they can do about it. So luckily for me, even though he broke through the bridge, my Berserkers have returned to this area of the field, and they're going to do what Berserkers do best, which is just bloodshed and carnage. So see him making very short work of these very heavy cavalry, heavily armored cavalry. You know, they really don't stand up much in the might of Berserkers. So I think you guys can quickly realize why this is my favorite unit in Total War. They're just a lot of fun to use. You don't see them in competitive play much because, again, CWB rules states that you can only deploy 2 of them in your army. But my opponent and me were not following CWB rules, as he's only supposed to use 6 of any type of unit, and he deployed 10 of these bronze shields. So I've sent my chosen archers in here now to help my Berserkers. I don't want the Berserkers to get surrounded, and these guys are out of ammo, so I've sent them into the melee along with my last remaining spear warband. There's really 2 ways to kill Berserkers, and that's one with arrows. As you can see, they don't wear any armor, so a good arrow attack or multiple volleys of arrows to Berserkers will wipe them out pretty quickly. Or if you surround the Berserkers, you know, they still die. They're not invincible by any means. As you can see here, most of them get wiped out by these phalanxes. So they're not invincible by any means, but they are really good. If you're ever up against them, surround them as much as you can, or kill them with arrows at a distance. Obviously, my opponent didn't have much of an arrow advantage this map, as I've stated earlier, so that was wasn't an option for him. And he's been able to kill most of the Berserkers at this point, but he's lost most of his army at the same time. So I think you can kind of tell at this point that I'm going to win the battle. And at this point, it's really just a mop up. Yeah, we're just my Gothic cavalry and Berserkers are just chasing down what's left of his army. He has this a little bit of Kadoshan cavalry left to be cleaned up, but that is about it. So as this is winding down, I want to let you guys know that I actually have 2 other videos at least on YouTube, probably more by the time you see this. There's some Rome Total War 1v1 commentaries. I'm going to work on some Medieval 2 commentaries after that. And then I'm hoping to bring you guys something different from another game, or bring in a guest in one of my videos so it's not just me talking. This poor cavalry, he is getting chased down by Gothic cavalry, Screeching Women, and German Berserkers. He is not having a good day, but that does bring us to the end of the battle. He's pretty much the lone survivor of the German carnage. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I want you to check out my other videos, stick around my channel, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching, everyone.